Hi there. Let's talk about an important consideration businesses make once they have decided to go ahead and implement Salesforce CPQ. So the very next decision that needs to be made is which license to procure from Salesforce.com. Is it the CPQ license or the CPQ Plus? So when we talk about implementing Salesforce CPQ, there are basically two license versions available. One is the CPQ, the other one is CPQ Plus. Now there could be a very justifiable reason as to why a business may want to implement CPQ Plus, but as implementation consultants, whether you're playing the role of a project manager, solution architect, configuration consultant, or a business analyst, I feel it's important for us to know the difference between these two, so that if we are part of those conversations, we can meaningfully contribute to such conversations. So let's talk about what specifically the difference are between CPQ and CPQ Plus. What does CPQ Plus offers that is not available in CPQ? Right? And when should a business decide to go ahead with CPQ Plus? Obviously, there is a price difference between CPQ and CPQ Plus, but that's a conversation between the Salesforce.com account executive and the business, so we won't get into that. But when it comes to the functionality and which one is best for a given requirement, I think we as implementation consultants can contribute. So let's get into this. So there are a few features that come extra as part of the CPQ Plus which are not available in CPQ. A couple of them that stand out is basically the advanced order management and advanced approvals. Okay. CPQ Plus also supports quoting usage-based products, but today we will just discuss the first two topics. All right. So what exactly is advanced order management? It's generally called as AOM in short. Right? So when we create a code for our customers in Salesforce CPQ, let's say this is the code template. As you know, code could have multiple code lines. So you could have code line 1, code line 2, 3, code line 4. Now, typically, once the code management processes are completed, which means all the internal approvals are sought, once the customer has accepted the code and we are ready to move to the next stage, which is creation of sales order, right? A code can be converted into a sales order. And a sales order within the system can have corresponding line items such as order product 1, order product 2, order product 3, and order product 4. So basically, there's a direct correlation between a code line and an order product or order items, as you may want to call it. This is the regular code to order conversion, where if you want to create a sales order within the system, you could create one order from the code and have multiple code order products corresponding to the code lines. But there could be requirements where a code may need to be converted into more than one orders. So we'll take a look at some of those scenarios in Salesforce to understand how and when those come in handy for businesses. Right? But essentially, instead of this one-to-one here, if we would like for a code which has multiple line items to result in creation of multiple orders, right? Then advanced order management can come in handy. So let's take a couple of examples in Salesforce and things will get more clear. Okay. So first I want to pull up the first code here, right? So I have added a few products. We have created groups. So essentially what we have is we have a group created for New York and VA, which means this is a multinational company. There are multiple offices and we are putting a code together for them. And they would like some of these products to be shipped to the New York office and the remaining products to be shipped to the Virginia office. Right? Now, without advanced order management, once we process this code, right, if we go ahead and convert this into a sales order, essentially this results in a single order and order products. Okay, so I'm going to create an order from this code, assuming that all the internal approvals are sought, the customer has accepted this code, and we are ready to move on to the next stage. So here, now we can see on the related list that there is one order created with the same order amount, which means all the line items for this order are available within the single order umbrella. So you have all of those order products underneath a single order. Now, when you have this a single order created, if suppose these products need to be shipped to different locations, right, of all of these line items, now the teams, corresponding teams will need to now look at which product has to be shipped to which location so that the order fulfillment process can happen effectively. Okay. Now, instead of doing it this way, if suppose the business had implemented advanced order management, right, so we'll take one more code here. Instead of the first code that we took, we will go ahead and take code 23. Okay. The same thing here. We have created a group. We have two different groups, New York and Virginia, the same products added, right? But we have done a small change. I'll tell you what that change is. But everything else on this code page is the same, right? We have created two groups for two different locations, right? And once again, with the assumption that this code has been now accepted by the customer, we'll go ahead and create an order. So code 23 here, if you now take a look, there are two code line groups that we created, and correspondingly, there are two different orders that have been created. Now, in this case, it becomes so much easier for the business to know that, okay, order 129 corresponds to the New York office, right? And the fulfillment has to be handled differently as compared to order 130, where it needs to be shipped to the different office, which is Virginia office, right? So there could be a number of use cases where creating multiple orders from a single code can be super handy. Right? We'll take one more example. But before we proceed, on this code, the only change I did to make this work, because this had CPQ Plus, is basically a checkbox. So it's order by code line group. So just by clicking this one checkbox, the system was smart enough to understand that it had to create two different orders based on the grouping that we had created on the code. Cool, right? So we'll take one more example here to drive this point. Here we have a code. There is no grouping. We just have a bunch of products added. We have some PC products added, the monitor, CPU, keyboard, mouse, and then there are some accessories and softwares, right? We have a headphone and antivirus. In this case, if I were to save this code and convert this into an order, so code 24, again, there's no grouping here, but we can still see three different orders created. Right? Essentially, what I have instructed the system to do is create multiple orders, this time not based off grouping, but based on the product category. So all the PC products have been categorized as such, right? And then the accessories have been added as such. Maybe the softwares have been given a different category. So when you go to the code here and look into the details, there is also one more option which says how do you want to order by. In this case, I'm saying order by product family. So I have grouped all the PC products into one product family, accessories into the other, and softwares into one more. So this way we have now created three different orders. Now one of the advantages of this is not just the multiple orders creation, yes it is, but then there could be repercussions down the line for which this advanced order management can be hugely beneficial. For example, revenue recognition is an extremely important concept and a function of a quote to cash process. If a business is selling both the hardware products as well as services, now the services may be recognized at a later point of time because the performance obligation is fulfilled at a later point. So if a product needs to be shipped and as part of the annual maintenance that would be done twice a year, only 6 months down the line the technician would be going in, maybe the revenue should be recognized when the technician goes and fulfills his duty and comes back. That's probably when also you're going to be charging the customer. So in these cases, having multiple orders and activating them and invoicing to the customer at different points in time can be super beneficial, right? So that's an important consideration to make. So if implementation consultants are not aware of this, I have seen CPQ implementations where the implementation teams have customized a whole lot around order management processes, especially when business have implemented CPQ and not billing, right? To fulfill the immediate needs, teams go and customize the order processing. But later at a point of time when business decides to go with and streamlined billing process, let's say Salesforce billing, then there's a lot of rework that needs to happen if the code management and order management have not been built properly in Salesforce CPQ. So that's an important consideration to make, and hence implementation consultants can play an extremely important role here. For example, if a business has this need for implementing, let's say, advanced order management functionalities where they would want to create multiple orders, rather than jumping on to customize the solution, it might be a great opportunity to talk to the business and understand what are all the use cases that they are looking for, and would now investing in CPQ Plus be a good time for them rather than implementing and customizing a whole lot, right? So that's obviously there's more than one consideration, what the pricing is, what the long-term scalability and maintainability impacts are, but at least this gives you an opportunity to go and talk to the business and bring your thought leadership into play. Okay. All right. So we saw advanced order management. Let's also now look at the second benefit, which is advanced approvals. Okay. So we all are familiar with the sequential approval process, right? So when a code is put together, let's say there's discounts that is needed, we could set up the standard approvals where if the discount is higher than a certain percentage, for example, the business may want to consider getting the code approved before the code can be sent to the customer. So which means that there could be a sequential approval with all the approvers needing to approve. Okay. Let's look at advanced approval and see how this changes the game for CPQ Plus customers. So let's suppose the code is being put together for a customer, right? And they are wanting to purchase the monitor and CPQ in bulk. They want 75 quantities of each. And now they are requesting some changes to the payment terms and the discount. So let's say they want a 50% discount. I'm just making stuff up here, right? So instead of 35%, let's say they want a 50% discount. Okay. And they want the payment term here to be net 90, while net 30, let's suppose, is the standard for this business. Okay. Now, a sales rep, when he's putting this code together, now if he captures these information and then now he needs to seek approval, in a standard approval process, he would then submit this code for approval and then wait for the approvals from stakeholders. But with advanced approvals implemented, one thing he can do as he makes these changes is understand who are all going to be involved in the approval process. So there's something called as a preview approval. And as you try to preview this approval process, what you see is right out of the gate, as a sales rep, I understand that with this level of discount and the payment terms changes I've done, I need to take approval from the sales manager, which is okay because sales manager is aware that I'm working with this prospective customer. But I also need to take an approval from the sales director because the discount is way more than 35%. And then with the VP of sales. Now, this gives me some flexibility and an opportunity for me to reconsider the discounts and renegotiate with the customer. Because if I know that I need to close the sale with this weekend, and I also know that the VP of sales is probably going to push back and we may not get an approval immediately, at least I can go back and work through the numbers to see if we can give a lower discount and just work with the sales manager, sales director to get this code discount approved. Right? Likewise, the payment term of net 30 is standard. So if it is not net 30, the finance manager has to approve. But because I have given net 90, the CFO and the legal representative both have come into picture. Right? So the legal team may want to understand why net 90 is being given, and they may want to tighten up the terms and conditions around this clause. The CFO may also want to understand why a net 90 would need to be given. Is this such an important customer that we can expect repeat business, and so on and so forth. But here again, this gives me an opportunity that I could probably give a net 45 or net 60, negotiate with the customer to understand if they are okay with the net 60. So that way, I don't have to go to the CFO and the legal representative for approval, which means I can shorten the approval process time and I can turn over the code quickly to my prospective customer. So as a sales rep, I can then go back, just make some changes to the code quickly. Let's say we settle down with a 35% discount, renegotiate the discount and the terms and conditions in terms of the payment terms with the customer. So we say 35% discount, Mr. Customer, and we can give you a net 60, right? And I'll work with my sales manager and the finance team to get this approved. So in this case, now if I go ahead and preview the approval, right, I know that I need to work with the sales manager, sales director, and finance manager, which is relatively easier rather than having to go to the senior leadership team for all the approvals, right? So previewing the approval is a beautiful functionality that comes as part of the advanced approvals, but then there are a lot more other capabilities as well. For example, you could have parallel approval chains. Where this is going to be helpful is, let's suppose that this code is sent for approval, right? Now, if suppose the payment term has been approved by the finance manager, but the sales director rejects the discounting. Upon resubmission, the system is intelligent enough to determine that the resubmission is happening because of a change to the discounting approval and not the payment term. So it doesn't send the code once again for approval to finance manager. So this way, this code is a smart approval. So all of this can help in streamlining the process, reducing the turnaround time, right? And just getting approval from the stakeholders who really need to approve because of the changes that have been made. And there is so the parallel approval chains is an extremely important functionality. Again, we are not going into the details of what are all the capabilities of advanced approvals, but like you can see, this is a very visual and clean representation. And in my experience working with many prospective customers and customers who have implemented CPQ, they love this functionality of what the advanced approval brings to the table, right? But as implementation consultants, once again, if you know that a company has a lot of approval processes in place, right, you may want to have this discussion beforehand to educate your customers that advanced approvals can bring in a lot more flexibility, helping them to shorten the turnaround time for codes. And all these would make you an excellent implementation consultant, and you will be able to contribute better to your projects. All right, so we covered a lot today. So let's quickly recap what we covered. So we have the advanced order management, advanced approvals as part of CPQ Plus. So you could use these for your conversations when next time you're on a CPQ project implementing CPQ for your customers. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give a thumbs up and share it with your other CPQ implementation consultant friends so they too can benefit from it. Oh, before you go, by the way, hi there. I hope you are finding value out of these videos that I'm posting. I'm definitely getting a lot of positive messages and feedback, and which is very encouraging. So I'll continue to do that. And if you have any specific topics that you would like for me to cover, do comment below, and I'll try my best to get those as part of my upcoming videos. And if you like this content, I request that you share it with your friends, peers, and others in the CPQ space so they too can benefit from these videos. All right, I do have an exciting opportunity that I want to share with you. Starting this Monday, 19th of August, we are starting a 7-week mentoring program called CPQ Like a Pro. Now, this is a great opportunity for anyone to work directly with me, where during the next 7 weeks, starting the 19th, we will be connecting together as a small group of cohorts, catching up thrice a week on Mondays and Wednesdays, where we'll have live sessions. We'll be going into the details of many of these topics, such as the one that we discussed. There are over 55, 60 topics, right, from product configuration, the various capabilities that exist in a CPQ product in general, as well as going deeper into Salesforce CPQ, right? A lot of pricing options, prorations, guided selling, right? Everything that you need to know to become a successful implementation consultant in the quote-to-cash world. Of course, we will help you take your Salesforce CPQ skills to a whole new level, but the general idea is, as an implementation consultant, your knowledge of the overall quote-to-order process or quote-to-cash process should be such that whether it's Salesforce CPQ today or RLM tomorrow or any other products, whether it's HubSpot, Monetize Now, or any product that you take, you should be competent enough to contribute meaningfully and positively in CPQ projects. That is the intent of this program. So while yes, you will be getting a rock-solid understanding of Salesforce CPQ, you'll be getting much more than that. I'm condensing more than 10 years of me being in the Salesforce ecosystem, 21 years in the IT industry into these programs. So I'll be sharing a lot of my personal experiences in terms of what are the common challenges that CPQ projects face, how should you go about approaching these, right? What are some of the best practices? What are the do's and don'ts? So essentially what we plan to cover here is everything that is required for an implementation consultant to be equipped to go and be successful in their roles. So if you're a business analyst, administrator, solution architect, project manager, and if you would like to upskill with Salesforce CPQ, then just drop me a message and we'll see how we can work together. Again, this program starts on Monday. Seats are filling up fast. It's going to be a small group because it's going to be live sessions and I want it to be very interactive. So if you're up for it, you want to take your CPQ skills to a whole new level, then drop me a note and it would be a pleasure to work with you. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.